Welcome back to Hot Chips. This is a year now review for Ratchet and Clank, where Jordan and Reagan are going to convince me whether or not I should play the game and whether or not you might like it as well.
Correct.
So this is a reboot of the original. So they made a movie off the first game, and then they made a game on the movie, which is from the first.
Is the movie out?
The game of the movie of the game.
The movie's not out, right?
I'm excited for the movie.
It is in America right now. I think it's already out in the US.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's hit here though. I should probably have looked that up.
Maybe you can look it up and tell us.
Tell us in the comments.
Yes. No.
So, I have played it. Reagan, you have played it.
I have played it.
We're up to about the same part in the game.
Which I don't know how far in that is.
I reckon it's about 4 hours.
Yeah,
4 or 5.
but I don't like as a percentage of the whole. I don't know how.
Quarter.
I've never played the original.
I reckon it's a quarter.
You're okay. So we've played a bit, but not much.
Yeah.
Cool. And you have got some experience with Ratchet and Clank?
No, so not really. So I'm a big fan of 3D platformers. Love Crash Bandicoots. I kind of stopped kind of liking them when they became a bit too gimmicky.
Right.
Which is kind of something that 3D platformers have been guilty of. Quite commonly. So I like to see 3D platformers being 3D platformers. So that was kind of something I was worried about before this game. Like, is it just what's it gonna be like, right? And I guess Ratchet Clank's kind of started becoming popular when it was a bit out of my age range.
Right.
I got a bit older, and it was not like really kind of. It was more of a children's game,
Yeah.
even though with like titles like Up Your Arsenal and what was the other one? Quest for Booty. Yeah, so they're quite funny, self-aware games.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I played a little bit of this at E3 last year, and was really excited because it just looked so well made. It's kind of the best way to describe it. So was excited to play. I was pretty hyped for it. Got the game, and Theo, I absolutely love it. It's a year from me. I just think it's so mechanically sound.
Okay.
Like it's just the when you're playing it, it just feels like the characters move. They feel just the way you interact. It's just really sound.
Yeah.
Like, and it is quite gimmicky. Like, it's actually what I said before. Like, it's not just a 3D platformer.
The
Like,
whole point of Ratchet and Clank's the arsenal that you
guns.
have
Yeah.
is that it's kind of gimmicky, but in a fun way.
yeah, so that didn't bother me at all because it does fit so well
Yeah.
with the game. So it is a weapons-based platformer, but they've thrown in as well like air vehicle combat, hoverboard racing, teleporters, jetpacks.
So that all of that wasn't in the original? Or?
I don't know.
No, okay. So obviously you never played the original?
Nah, I played little bits and pieces of some.
All right, yeah.
But,
I think a lot of this might have been in the original. Like, I know the grind boots and stuff were.
Yeah.
Again, I've got no experience with the original, just from what I'd seen and heard from people.
This is weird because I've played almost halfway through. I might have even finished it, but I can't remember the original Ratchet and Clank.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's also worth saying that this game is beautiful. Like it looks so good.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen a couple of screenshots and videos. It does look incredible. Yeah.
And it borrows little scenes every now and again from the movie as well, which really makes the cinematics like pop.
Yeah,
They look fantastic.
And like because like without actually knowing that there was a movie, if you didn't know that, you'd feel like those were made for the game. Like they're really seamlessly put in there. Like if you are looking for it, it does kind of is a bit jarring if you're really looking for it. But I imagine if you didn't know there was a movie out, you wouldn't notice. The game's really funny and self-aware. Yeah. That's one of the strengths with it, I reckon. Like characters like Skid McMarks and like them having...
It gets a chuckle from me like every time.
Yeah, and just having jokes about the fact that it is a reboot within the dialogue.
Oh,
and
yeah,
stuff.
no, I've heard of that.
Yeah. So the characters will be like, "Oh, I'll see you in the next reboot." So it's a really clever, funny game, and the difficulty as well, I think, is really spot on for kind of what I want from that sort of game. It's not too easy.
Yeah,
like I've died a few times. Like it's not Dark Souls, but it's not like like.
And normally when you die, it's because you can see why you've died. It's not like something frustrating has caused you to die. Yeah. You've either gotten in the way of someone shooting at you, or you've jumped off a platform the wrong way, or something like that. It's normally your own fault.
From the perspective of Knack's difficulty, what do you think?
From what's difficulty?
Knack Souls. You might not have played it actually. The platform that came out when the PS4 released. That was
Knack.
Knack, yeah.
Right.
Right.
I never played Knack.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
No, it wasn't my launch game of choice.
But that was meant to be like super easy.
No, it was meant to be super hard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was
new
okay.
platform genre super hard. But there's a good balance.
Yeah, well, it's worth mentioning there are 3 difficulty levels for this.
Oh, okay.
And I was playing on medium, which is like the standard or standard difficulty, and that was like not easy. So that's like the good difficulty. So if you are a pro player, go hard, and you'll be having a challenge, you know. And I like the fact that it's challenging. This, just to conclude my giant year before Reagan gets into his, this is the type of game I can imagine getting on a Christmas morning or a birthday morning.
Bingo.
And like playing it for that entire afternoon, loving it, and just remembering it 20 years later. You know, I think it is targeted at people that are probably younger than us, and that doesn't make us enjoy it any less. Like, I'm loving it. But I can just imagine a kid opening on this Christmas and having those like lifelong memories from this game.
Absolutely. And that kid is just going to want a reboot in 20 years' time. Yeah, totally.
I'm sure it does pull on the nostalgia strings of people that played the original Ratchet and Clank, but I imagine I'm interested to hear that.
Yeah. Which puts onto me, so I'll give you my background first. So I haven't played Ratchet and Clank, just like I haven't played Jak and Daxter, just like I haven't played Crash Bandicoot. I didn't have a PlayStation back when all these games came out. I was Nintendo 64, so I've played the Mario and Banjo and Conker's Bad Fur Day, all those platformers. So this was a bit of a surprise because of how weapons-based it was. I played, I think it was Up Your Arsenal on the PS3, and I just didn't like that. There was something about, I thought it looked nice, but there was something about the gameplay that it just didn't click. So going into this, I thought I was going to get more of that.
Yeah.
But Jordan hit the nail on the head when he said that the controls just work. Like, you feel like you've got such fine control over everything. There's aim support for some of the weapons, which... it's a bit of a controller hack these days since there's no mouse and keyboard, but it works because of the age group that it's targeted at. Yeah. It's definitely aimed at someone younger than us, but at the same time, I can imagine fans of the series loving it. I can imagine people new to the series loving it, and so I'm definitely giving it a yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think, Jordan, you pretty much stated everything that I was thinking. The callbacks, the self-awareness, the variety of game modes with the and items with the jetpacks and the grind boots and the air combat. Everything just feels great, and all the weapons feel unique. Like, you've got the
and useful.
Yeah. So you've got, like, instead of having a gun that just like stuns everyone in place, you've got that disco ball that makes them all dance. So it serves the same purpose as other guns, but it just does it in a way more unique and playful way. The Pixelator also is a really cool little gun, which puts everyone into this weird little pixel mode. But when they die from a blast, it leaves actual 3D blocks of them that you can then bust open and stuff like that. So it's every weapon feels unique. The switching between them, I think, was probably a little cumbersome. You can have 4 set to the D-pad, but there's like 10. There's like 10 items, I think.
You can like 10. Pause and use.
Which I just found like I was finding myself like kind of running out of ammo halfway through a big battle and having to pause it and going to another one. And it would have just been nicer if there was a button just to quickly go to the next one on the wheel. But still, I mean, that's a minor complaint from a game that looks amazing. The story's fantastic so far from what I've seen. The humor's great. And
what do you think of that train set piece?
The train set piece.
There's that level where you're on the train. You have to go from carriage to carriage. That was really cool.
Yeah. And like the whole game has, like, it looks gorgeous, right? And it's the kind of game that I think that if you're playing it and someone was walking past, they'd comment on how it looks. Like, it's a bit of a system seller as far as graphics go, I think.
What do you think of the What do you think of the RPG mechanics?
Like the leveling up of the weapons and stuff?
So every weapon has a giant tree where you have to like buy upgrades and like unlock certain perks of each weapon. And the weapons actually level up individually. So do you level up as a character?
No. The character doesn't.
Yeah, so but the weapons do.
Your
weapons do?
Yeah. What do I think of it? I kind of wish it wasn't there.
Oh, really?
Like, I like that you've got that little station where you can buy new stuff.
Yeah.
But just let the guns level up naturally. I always feel when it comes to those things, one of two things, that the options are completely, they just don't matter.
Yeah.
Or that I feel like they do matter and I'm going to select the wrong one. Right. So with this one, I just feel that they don't matter. Yeah. Like you might expand the circle of death or area of effect for for a weapon or something like that. And I don't feel I've ever noticed a difference when I've upgraded one of those things. Oh, yeah. And I just kind of feel like it's, I don't know, I haven't noticed any kind of benefit to doing it. And then you've got the leveling up of the gun naturally that happens as you play, as you use it. And that doesn't tell you what it's upgrading when it's leveling up. Like, what's it leveling up? Is it offering new things in the RPG element side of things, or is it doing something by itself? I think that's what I think. It's opening up some extra bits, but it doesn't.
That wasn't clear.
Yeah, it's not clear. And again, when I am upgrading it, it's like you do a plus 5% for this specific feature. And then once you've bought it once, you can put it up to a plus 10 or something like that.
I actually quite like the RPG the RPG mechanics for the weapons, because I felt like you were never waiting long to get those points. So you could constantly be going back and upgrading the weapons.
Yeah.
And depending on what you put it into, I noticed a difference. Like I had my Pixelator, so people would drop health when they died and that sort of stuff. And like perks with them.
The thing I like isn't the thing I dislike isn't the fact that you've got individual things that slowly upgrade it.
Yeah.
That's the part I'm not a big fan of. What I do like from the RPG system is when you circle one of those things and get a bonus.
Yeah.
I feel like you could have just upgraded like arbitrary just squares with the idea that once you've done enough, you'll get that perk.
Right.
Like the specific increasing the damage, increasing the area of effect, I didn't notice. But when you're unlocking perks and stuff, that's when it becomes noticeable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the good part. That's I definitely like that. But yeah.
So Theo, do you have any questions for us? What would you like to see in this game? Have we done enough to convince you? Is it a year or a nah?
You sort of kind of have, but you've drawn on this interesting point where it's both an old kind of platform that's been perfected, but they've added some new age elements that I might not agree with. Like, I don't like the idea of RPG mechanics in a simplistic platform. Like, I like the idea of just like, here's a whole bunch of tools, go out and play with them, but you don't have to spend ages in a menu, and you're spending more time in the world. And that's what I loved about Jack and Daxter.
You wouldn't spend more than a minute.
Yeah, one of the things about the RPG mechanics, they're very quick and easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go in, you might have 5 points to spend. You spend them super quick on one of the weapons you like the most, and it's just done and it's over. So it doesn't get in the way.
Yeah.
And it's never at a point, and like you cannot do it at any point during the game. It's always at a point where the action is slowed down, and you've got the time just to sit there. And
you don't have to like go to a workbench or anything.
No.
Nothing like that. Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing was with the story. Does it compel you to move forward, or do the mechanics more compel
The levels do.
The levels do?
I feel the level design is really good in this game, where I feel like the levels are... I would call them on the shorter side, but I take that as a positive, because they're done really well, where it's almost like Dark Souls-y. I'm playing Dark Souls at the moment, so I've got a lot of reference. Where you kind of get through the end and then it shortcuts back to the start, and then you start a new quest, and they do that really well and seamlessly. So it's almost like it's that Mario effect, where the levels are short enough that you play one, you get that hit of I've been successful, and you play another. Like it has that. The levels don't drag, and it moves the story forward. Yeah.
Cool. Oh no, that's pretty good.
For me, the story is an attachment to the gameplay. So it's not. It doesn't grow on it. It's been attached to the game. So if you imagine something like Mario 64 in the days, you go to a world and you've got objectives to do there. They don't really have anything at all to do with the story, but the story overall is you're trying to get to the princess at the end, right?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it's the same thing with Ratchet and Clank. There is an overarching story that is get from this point in the story to the end of the story, but when you go to a world, there's only a few objectives that I've come across so far that really push the story forward. It's usually just, I need to go get something from here. When you get to that point, someone wants you to do an objective, and then you'll get that thing. And so it feels like it's more objective based with a story that wraps it all up as a more of a container for all these small objectives. And in, I think it was Up Your Arsenal, there was a lot of repetition. One of the things I felt that I didn't like in the other one was kind of like, you need to do this one thing 8 times, and then you've got your objective. They've cut that down a lot more in this one. It doesn't feel so repetitive. I think there was a part near the start where you play as Clank, and you're racing, you're running away from that massive thing that's chasing after him. This is like at the very start of the game, and that just goes on for maybe 1 or 2 cycles too long, and it made me think, oh no, they're just going to do this repetition thing again. And they almost made me feel they were going to do it, and they stopped it and they carried on with the game, and I haven't seen that again. So hopefully, I think that'll be the end of that, and
Oh yeah.
I quite like the Clank levels.
I
They're more puzzles.
Yeah.
He's got little tools and stuff.
Yeah. It was mainly the fact that it was just kind of like run past it into a side thing, do something, and then back out and you're running, but with this thing chasing you. You do that like 3 times, and I was just like, it was one too many for me.
Yeah.
Because I already got what they were trying. It just felt like they're trying to extend the gameplay, but that was the only time I felt it. Yeah.
So Theo, time to vote.
I do think, with everything said, that it's a good combination of old and new. There are some interesting things there, and it'll drive you forward. It'll keep you going. So I'm actually all for this because there hasn't been aside from NAP, which I didn't really have a good go with. I kind of just saw things. There hasn't really been a good re-envision of 3D story platformers. And I think if I had a PS4 and I had the ability to get this, I would. 100%. Yeah.
This is, like Jordan said, it's going to be some kid's favorite game.
Yeah.
Like for the rest of his life, he'll come back to this as being the thing that got him into gaming, or will compare other games to.
Yeah, maybe this will be the resurgence of that kind of genre. We're getting more kids into it and trying to grow up with it, and then we'll be playing it in our 40s.
Yes. So it's a yeah from me.
Yeah.
And that concludes another Hot Chips Yeah Nah. Join us next time where we'll be yeah nahing a different game for you.
Yeah.
That's how it happens.
So subscribe and look out for videos every Tuesday and Thursday.
See you.